Back with a super panel here. That's right, the super panel, folks. We're in the golf capital of the world, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we're going to talk a little social media. We've only got one of us here that's a social media expert, Paige. We'll get her, to her in a minute. But Geoff Shackelford, who has an incredible blog. I read every day, by the way, geoffshackelford.com. Geoff, if you start looking around at tour players, you see some neat stuff with Phil Mickelson now is on social media. Max Homa does a good job. Some of the ladies do a great job. Do we need more of that?
Oh, yeah. I don't think we can ever get enough of the players sharing their life, allowing people to live kind of through them, what they eat, what they do in their spare time, apologize if they had something where they didn't like the way they behaved. I like all that. I don't like when they use it as a way to break news instead of using the press, because they end up kind of regretting that, which is a different hole to go down. But I think it's great. It makes them relatable. I wish more of them would share where they just go and play golf in their spare time if they do that. But I think it's fantastic, and some of them are really, really good at it. And the ones who aren't good usually figure out a way. Somebody tells them, you got to get better at this.
Michael, if you're working with a young player who has potential to be a top 25 or top 50 player in the world, working with them on their career, trying to develop, do you tell them you need to worry about putting where you're going to dinner at night on social media, or do you get them to just focus on playing golf? Is it a distraction for a lot of young players?
It can be. I think it's part of their life. I think they get used to, and Paige obviously can speak to this well better than I, but they get used to sharing these different things. I think social media can be very good and very bad, and I don't really see much in between. I think if you go out and that send or tweet or whatever it is that you hit that sends it out into the world it's something that it needs to be thought of very seriously before you do that. And I'm sure the PGA Tour is involved with paying attention to training these players in that way. I would say, look, you know what? Go out there, become a great player, figure out how to share all that other stuff later.
But hey, we're having this slow play debate because a couple players went on social media and said, I've had enough, and they posted some things. And so sometimes they kind of, influence things in a fun way.
He's talking about that young player that's just coming out, right?
Yeah.
If
and
you
would
got
tell them,
that's
don't do
established
that.
out there,
I know, and
that's a different
advice.
game. If Koepka wants to go out there and say what he wants to say, he told us in the beginning of the year he was going to be more aggressive in that space.
That he was.
I just think it can be very dangerous.
For young players coming out in the world of professional golf, I would think it'd be hard to completely avoid social media. So let's say the PGA Tour, the LPGA hired you to come in and talk or mentor a group of their professionals on how to deal with social media. Maybe what would be the first thing you would tell them that they've got to do, Paige?
Don't force it. Always be your authentic self, and I agree. It's either good or it's really, really bad, and some people just can't handle having social media, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think you need to force players to be vocal if they don't feel comfortable with that, and I think if they start to, people will kind of see through it and see that they're not being their true selves. Phil is killing it because he's just doing what he wants to do.
Funny.
And he loves it. Yeah, but if someone doesn't react the same way, because there's a lot of negativity on social media, and their job is to be a professional golfer. That's what they are trained to do. That's what they want to do. That's their job. That's their passion. It's not to do social media. If they want to share things through social media, that's great, but I don't think they have to do it if they don't want to do it. I think it's actually more harmful for their playing careers to see all of the negativity and all of the comments and to get involved in kind of those debates. I think it's great for like Brooks because he loves to do it, and I think that motivates him, but sometimes it doesn't motivate players.
Hank, I love what she's saying about the negativity.
I'm the wrong person to ask about this.
Right. No, but if you're playing this game is so hard and you're playing the highest level, you don't need all that negative crap coming in. I mean, it's great to read the positive stuff, but I don't want to be looking at negative stuff about me.
That's just, you're talking about guys that are trying to establish themselves as PGA Tour players. But, I mean, guys that have already established themselves. I mean, Phil Mickelson is on the other end of the spectrum, and he's doing a great job that's helping the game.
Bill, in the business world of golf, having players engaging with fans and social media, do you view that as a pretty big positive?
There's no question, and we're involved a little bit in that business in managing social media profiles and content for some folks on tour. And if it's not their personality, let's just say, to do it themselves, they really ought to have somebody do it for them, because that fan interaction is where the magic happens, right? That's when somebody says, "Hey, my dad's in the hospital. He's a big fan of yours." All of a sudden, the hat shows up, right? You can interact with them on social media. There's going to be trollers out there, and they are everywhere. But there are some really good one-to-one conversations and dialogues that these players or the players' reps can have with fans, and that's magic. You just don't get that a lot.
I almost think it's worse, though, when you feel like you're having a conversation with someone and it's not actually them, or if a public figure will post something and you can tell that it's a cut and copy, and I feel like that you don't have that connection, or it's almost like a fake connection. And so I would almost rather see a player, if they don't want to do it, just not do it at all, instead of kind of pretend to be doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, and that goes with the management process. If we were to reach out to a fan, it would not be on behalf of the player, but ultimately we would ask the player to do something for the fan or to the fan at some point. But a lot of these men and women don't want to mess around with social media. It's not their favorite thing to do. Maybe they're just more private. But it does give fans access to what they do, and I think we should have, for example, more conversations with caddies. I'd love to see, what was your player talking about on the 6th hole? When he hit that 8-iron, 200 yards.
Yeah.
And have that from a caddy perspective. I think those things the fans just don't hear enough of that, right? We see it. But, I just feel like that interaction is important to help grow the game, the fan experience, and overall engagement.
Certainly with social media, there's some positives, there's some negatives. My number one piece of advice, never drink and tweet.
Yeah.
Not good.